Welcome to the Inside Carolina Postgame Podcast. Carolina by 20 over Virginia in the ACC quarterfinals. We are sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt, johnnytshirt.com. With the Postgame Podcast on a late Thursday night here on the East Coast, I bring in Dewey Burke, who's a little bit earlier in the, I guess it's the West, almost West.
Midwest, maybe?
Midwest, maybe. Carolina. Yeah. Dewey, we just watched the Carolina-Virginia game, and I was writing my game story for this podcast, and I said it's always a slog to play Virginia. But for the game in Smith Center earlier this year, it always has been. And it was again tonight. The bottom line is, though, Carolina's defense, especially in the first half, lights out against the Hoos. Carolina led by 20 at half, won by 20 in the end. Your overall take?
Yeah, it's a tough style to watch at times, and can kind of lull you to sleep a little bit with how slow the possessions are. And I think what you can see, and the challenge that Virginia has, is if they don't have a couple NBA players that can just execute you to death, regardless of how hard you try defensively, that they're going to struggle to score. And so that was not an overly enjoyable game to watch. I thought we were very attentive early defensively and didn't allow them to get into any kind of rhythm. Obviously, Brady got going offensively and carried us in the first half. And we didn't need a whole heck of a lot from really anybody else. Mondo didn't have his best night. And candidly, we probably could have won by 40. I'm almost glad we didn't shoot it that well or play particularly well. In the sense of we maybe could have saved some of it for tomorrow and hopefully the day after that. So yeah, it's just a tough style and ugly. And we started slow offensively, but got a little rhythm with Brady going, and it just wasn't much of a game.
Yeah, I looked at the stats early, and other than Manek, both teams were playing the exact same shooting stats. I think it was one shot off a piece. But Brady Manek, man, I mean, that guy, I said it, I tweeted it during the Duke game. You tweet it every night. He's just a basketball player, Dewey. I mean, he just knows how to play the game, and it's certainly fun to watch him.
Yeah, and he showed us a little extra tonight. I mean, a couple crafty finishes around the rim, going off the bounce left and hitting a little step back jumper. He can really shoot it and is willing to shoot it often, which is a thing we've talked about a lot here on this platform, being a willing shooter. And he's got a really nice rhythm going right now. I mean, he's number 2 on the scouting report for us, which he slowly worked his way up to being in that position. So teams have to really, really game plan for him because he's doing it both inside and out. He's getting offensive rebounds. He's finishing around the rim. And then obviously he's a flat out knockdown shooter. So I really, really like the set that they've been running consistently, where they run Mondo with a high pick and roll, and he rolls to the basket. And if the lane opens up, Brady just clears out to the short corner. But if it gets clogged up, they run that piston action where Brady pops to the top of the key and is open for a catch and shoot 3. And if Mondo's in position to screen for him, he also does that. They highlighted it on the coverage. We've been running that a lot. We ran a lot against Duke for a couple of big baskets, and it's a really nice action. It's a pick your poison if you're defending it, if we execute it correctly. And it's been a nice set for us.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to watch and see how the guards have really learned how to work it and get it to the right place at the right time. Let's talk a little bit about defense. And Carolina held to Virginia, I think, for 18% shooting, 13 points in the first half. I mean, I thought one of the best things Hubert did going into this game is he put Leaky Black on Kihei Clark. And because with Clark, I mean, he's been there forever, but Virginia rides him. And he doesn't have to score it a ton, but if he's playing well, Virginia's usually really good. And Leaky, this is what frustrates me watching college basketball. Everybody talks about Mark Williams. He's clearly a great defensive player. But if you stack the stats up with who they've guarded and who that person means on the opposing team, Leaky Black deserved to be way up the food chain on the defensive player of the year, and he did it again tonight.
He did, and you make a great point about the strategic decision to put someone with Leaky size and length on Kihei Clark, who's obviously a smaller guy. And it's because Kihei doesn't just score for them. He only averages 10 points a game, but it's his ability to distribute, get the ball to guys in spots where they can be successful. And Leaky's length would bother not just every shot, but every passing lane that Clark was looking at. And the length of his arms just to occupy Clark's eyes in trying to initiate offense was a key, because you saw a number of times where Clark would penetrate and then he would go down under the basket and come back around to the middle of the paint, looking to find somebody to pass the ball to in a scoring position. And Leaky just had his hands out, occupying those passing lanes throughout, especially the first half. So agree with you. I think that was a good strategic decision. Look, Virginia also didn't play well. They're not an overly talented Virginia team. I'm not sure that's a tournament team. I don't know what people are saying or what Lenardi is saying, but boy, they didn't help themselves tonight by any means. So they're not an overly talented team that plays an ugly style that also had a bad night, and that's how you score 43 points.
Yeah, and 13 in the first half. I believe it was Virginia's lowest outpoint in the shot clock era, which is pretty incredible. And I like how you expounded on my point. Clark could do nothing. I mean, it looked like he hadn't played basketball in weeks, and it translated to everybody else. I love Gardner for Virginia. Love the guy's mid-range game. He had 17, but Beekman, 1 for 8 for 3 points. Franklin, 1 for 7. I think that was the only basket Franklin made in the ACC tournament. Cafaro, that started their big man, nothing. Clark, 3 for 9 for just 7 points. He did end up with 4 assists. But, I mean, Leaky disrupts everything that they tried to do by shutting down Kihei Clark. And I think, we can talk about Baycott getting shafted on ACC Player of the Year. I think Leaky should have gotten a lot more consideration for Defensive Player of the Year, but it is what it is. Let's look across the board. Love and Davis, not the best shooting nights. How did you feel that they played overall? I'll freely admit, when they airballed their first shot, one was it RJ airballed early, Caleb missed a couple. My thought was, we've seen this record before. How'd you feel the two guards played overall?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, what you're saying is we still have some PTSD from when our backcourt has struggled, and we're kind of wedded now to seeing if they make a couple shots early and thinking that's going to set the tone for how they play the rest of the game. And we're not wrong to have that feeling. You look down at the box and you see that those guys combined shot 2 for 10 from 3. I thought RJ still controlled and helped us get the shots we wanted to get. We just didn't shoot it great. Obviously, other than Brady, Mondo had an off night. He just didn't have his touch around the rim. I thought they missed a couple times. He got fouled when he should have been on the free throw line. So for a big guy to shoot 5 for 12, you're not overly thrilled with that. Still got another double-double. But, I thought they played fine. Defensively, they were attentive, and we had good rotations and cohesiveness on that end of the floor. And you heard Hubert at halftime be pretty effusive with his praise of how we defended. I go back to what I said at the top. I'm okay with the fact that they didn't have a great night, because I look for them to play much, much better tomorrow and hopefully shoot the ball well too, because we're going to need to play better than we played tonight in order to beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and against Virginia, you're going to have suppressed scoring unless you're Brady Manek. I mean, they scored 63 points, but look at Davis's stat line: 8 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. You take that every night from RJ. You'd like him to score more, but against Virginia, it just doesn't happen. There's not that many possessions. You talk about Virginia Tech, and Carolina has grinded out 2 wins against Virginia Tech thus far this season. Everybody talks about beating a team 3 times, whatever. I think Carolina, and I've referenced this a lot, I think Carolina's season really turned at that game against Virginia Tech, where Baycott, I've said it last week, I'll say it again, slung Aluma down and showed some fight that we hadn't seen. And of course, Carolina, I believe they're now 12-2 since then. What do the Heels do against Virginia Tech? Is it the same status quo, attack them down low? I mean, where does Carolina have to be better than they were tonight up against the Hokies, who've played decently well and got rid of a Notre Dame team that was a problem for Carolina earlier in the year?
Yeah, look, I think we just got to shoot the ball better. We took care of the ball by and large in this game tonight. We out rebounded Virginia. We just got to shoot the ball better, and our guards need to contribute offensively a little bit more than they did. RJ had a great stat line. Caleb was, more or less non-existent in this game, and so I look for him to bounce back. You look at the roster for Virginia Tech outside of Aluma, we're better than them. We're a more talented team, and so if we play the way we're capable, we should be just fine. I think it's going to be. It's not. I don't expect us to blow them out by any means. I think they're a scrappy club, and they have kids that play hard. You're going to probably see Leaky on Couture, right, again, and he's their best shooter, and try to lock him up and not let him get going from the outside. But you got a Luma that's got to deal with Brady and with Mondo for 40 minutes. And our guards need to play a little bit better, make some shots. And I do think we'll be fine if we play the way we're capable and bring the same defensive attentiveness for all 40 minutes that we brought, certainly to start the game tonight.
Last question for you before we get out of here. Carolina 63-43 over Virginia in the quarterfinals ACC tournament. Late night on the East Coast. What's it like, the turnaround in ACC tournament? You've been on teams that had to do it. I mean, they're going to be warming up, getting ready to play in about 20 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
What's that like as a player?
Yeah, it's quick. I mean, you're used to during the season, you get into a rhythm of playing a game and obviously having off days. So you're going to watch tape of the game you just played. Coach would pull clips. You're going to review things. In this deal, it's just on to the next. I mean, the Virginia game is over and it's almost never spoken about again. You got to roll forward. They will watch if Coach Williams was coaching, I imagine it's very similar. Tonight at post-game meal, post-game snack, they will watch Virginia Tech clips tonight. And so the turnaround will be that quick. It'll go through a scouting report. Whoever the assistant was that had Virginia Tech in the 2 games this season will also have this scout. It'll already be prepared and done. So they're doing media right now. They're going to shower. They're going to get on the bus back to the hotel, go right into the team room where they'll have food set up, and it'll be time to talk Virginia Tech. So the turnaround is very quick. Obviously, guys are getting stretched, icing, doing the things they need to do, hopefully hydrating, and then you're right back at it. What time is that game tomorrow? Is it late again?
Same time, yep, 9:30.
Yeah, so that's good in terms of recovery. So they got a long day tomorrow. I mean, they will they'll have a shoot around. I don't know if it'll be at Barclays or somewhere else, but so they'll get up, they'll have breakfast, watch the clips again, go through the scouting report again, go to shoot around, do a little bit of walkthrough stuff. The blue team will have some Virginia Tech plays ready to walk through, under out of bounds sets that they run, key plays to get Aluma involved. And you go back to the hotel, and then it's a long day. I mean, the only days that are longer are those NCAA tournament days when you tip it, 9:57 or 10:03, which used to drive Coach Williams crazy. So it'll be a long day, but by the time they get on the bus to go to the arena, they will have watched the Virginia Tech clips 3 or 4 times, gone through the scouting report 3 or 4 times. And so it's all forward now, nothing about Virginia.
Good deal. Dewey Burke, I'm your host, Tommy Ashley. Johnny T-Shirt sponsors us. Rate us, review us, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow on the Inside Carolina Postgame Podcast. Carolina moving on to Virginia Tech semifinals of the ACC tournament opposite Duke and Miami at 7 p.m. Should make for an interesting weekend. Dewey, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Tommy.